Step 1. Open up the start file. That's what you see right here. If it opens up in the protected view, you'll know it's in the protected view because you'll see a yellow line across the top, a yellow bar. You'll need to click Enable Editing. Sometimes you have to click it twice, but that will allow you to edit this workbook. And now is the time to change the name of this particular start file if directed to do so by your instructor. Otherwise, you can just leave it as is. And that finishes up step 1. Step 2. On the table sheet, select cells A6 through B10 and create range names. So this is how we're going to do it. We need to select the tables sheet, and hopefully you know this by now, but in Excel, this is a workbook, but a workbook, much like a regular book, can contain many different sheets, and the sheets will appear down here on the lower portion of the screen. In this particular start file, there are 3 sheets that are already created for you. We need to select the table sheet and then make the selection A6 through B10, holding down the mouse button to select that entire range. Next, we need to head up to the top, click the Formulas tab, and once again, I always go very slowly, so if I seem to pause between things, I'm making sure I hit everything asked of me in the instructions. I literally check off everything. That's why a printed copy is so handy when you do these. It's not 100% necessary, but it's much easier to make sure you're doing it right. Next, I'm going to click the Create from Selection box. And it's already set up and ready to go. It should have this little check box. It says left column. If not, check it and then click OK. And that will complete step 2. Step 3. We need to select cells B1 through F2. B1's up here, F2's down here. So I'm going to select them. This is still on the table sheet. Then we have to click Define Name. And we have to type in exactly what you see the instructions. It's H with that underscore and then rates. And always be sure with SimNet to get capitalization and spelling correct, because it will mark you down often if you do even the littlest things wrong. So you have to really be accurate with this stuff. Once you've typed that in there, click OK, and that will complete step 3. Step 4 says we need to be on the Commissions Sheet tab. So I'm going to go down here and click the Commissions Sheet. And now we have to determine the bonus rate, which is right here in F5. And the bonus rate is dependent on the commissions. So the higher the commissions, the higher the bonus rate. It's pretty obvious. So let's talk about how we're going to get through this. In 4A, it says select cell F5 on the sheet, and we've done that. In 4B, it says start an HLOOKUP function and use the E5 and use cell E5 for the lookup value. So we need to be on the Formula tab, and you'll see up towards the top it'll say lookup and reference. Click it. You get a whole bunch of different options. One of them says HLOOKUP. Not too difficult so far, right? It says use cell E5. I'm just typing it in there. In 4C, it says for the table array argument, use H underscore rates. So I'm going to type that in there, H underscore rates. Make sure you get the spelling right. It's really important that you get everything right here. Take your time. And then lastly, it says use the second row for the row underscore index underscore number arguments. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a 2 here. It's row 2. And you can see the bonus rate appear right here in F5. And that concludes step 4. Step 5. Format the results as a percentage style with 2 decimal places. So we're going to head up to the Home tab here. And right in the center of the Home tab in the ribbon up here, you're going to see the number area, and this is so important in Excel. If you're a newer user to Excel, you really need to understand how to manipulate numbers. You need to how to make things percentages and currency and things like that. That's why it's dead center in the middle of the first tab here. It's so important. So in this case, it simply wants percentages, so we click on percentages. And I can see that it goes out to 2 decimal places. If that wasn't the case, we could increase or decrease the decimals up here. But it should be good. And that completes step 5. Step 6, copy the formula in cell F5 all the way down through F14. So you should probably already be in F5. So I'm going to use the fill handle right here. It's the little square plus in the lower right hand portion of the cell. Be very careful to make sure that you get that. Then I'm just holding down the main mouse button. I'm dragging it all the way down. Then when I release, like magic, you should see the bonus rates adjust all the way down. And that completes step 6. Step 7, set the order of operations to calculate total earnings. In 7A, it says select G5, cell G5, that's easy. In 7B, we need to build a formula to add the commissions. These are the commissions to the commission amount times the rate. So pay attention here. I'm going to make this just a little bit bigger so you can see it. Hopefully by this point in Excel, you understand how to make basic formulas. All formulas start with an equal sign. And what I'm going to do is you can type this in or you can actually click cells. Doesn't matter. You could type in E5 or select it. In this case, I selected it. Then I use the plus button. Then I use the parentheses button. And we need to type in, or I could select it. I'm going to type it in this time just to show you that it works both ways. F5, and you can see that it actually selects that particular cell range, times using the time symbol, E5. Very important that you close the parentheses, and then I'm going to hit enter to lock it into place. And one thing to point out, I'm going to click back on this, is that we're not using the absolute cell reference when we do this because we want to be able to copy this formula down to the other rows. So let's do that right now. It says copy it down. This is 7C. We need to copy the formula in cell G5 all the way down to G6 through G14. So I'm going to use the autofill handle, the lower right hand portion of that particular cell, release, and then you should see this automatically fill in with the total earnings all the way down. And that completes step 7. Create and copy a SUMIF function to calculate total earnings by a branch office. And the SUMIF function will add information if certain criteria is met. So let's show you how to do that. First, we need to select cell E18. That's step 8A. And you know you're on E18 because you'll see it up here in the upper left-hand portion of the screen. It'll show you what cell you're on if for some reason you were confused. It says start the SUMIF function, so we need to head over to the Formulas tab. Then we need to click Math and Trig, and this goes in alphabetical order. That'll be pretty obvious. Then I need to find the SUMIF function. And be careful because there are several different types of sum functions, so only choose the SUMIF function. And then we need to put in the range of D5. And we can do this a couple different ways. We can type it in or select it on the sheet. I'm going to select it. D5 through D14. and it's right there. Now we have to make this as an absolute reference. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the F4 button, and it changes that to an absolute reference. If for some reason the F4 button didn't work, you could put the $ in front of the column and the row. You could do that for both parts of this range, but F4 should work on your computer to automatically make everything that absolute value. That completes step 8B. The criteria argument is a relative reference to cell C18. So right here, the criteria reference, we need to select C18. That's Cameron Park. Then it says select cells G5 through G14. I'm going to move this box over just a little bit. We're now working on step 8D, G5 through G14. I'm sorry. You need to make sure you're in the sum range area. So I'm going to click the criteria is C18, then click on the sum range, G5 through G14. I'm going to hit F4, or you can, once again, you can manually make this an absolute value, but F4 should work. And then it says copy the formula in cell E18 to cells E19 through E20. So I'm going to click OK here. Scroll down. And the formula is in there. Do you want to check the formula? You can click on it. If you're somewhere else, click on it and you can see the formula up here. Looks a little bit messy, but really it's pretty simple. Copy the formula. I'm going to use the autofill handle down to E20. And then it says, lastly, with this range selected, we need to make that currency. Click back on the Home tab, click in the Numbers area. That choice you have lots of choices here. I click Currency, and that's step 8F, and that completes step 8. Step 9. Total the earnings in cell E21. So first we need to head over to E21. Right here. And a couple different ways to do this. On the Home tab, I'm going to click the Auto Sum button, and I'm going to click Sum, and then Enter, and that'll tabulate, that'll total the earnings in cell E21, and that completes step 9. Please note, there are a couple different ways to tally up or to add up a range of cells. Like I said, you can click on the auto sum button. Literally, you just click on it right there. That'll auto sum it. You can use the drop down menu and click sum. The other way to do it is to come up here to formulas, and you can click the auto sum button. You have those same choices right here. Or you can do it old school, and you can actually type it in. You could put in the equal sign and then type in what you'd like to add up. Many different ways to do this. I like to just select underneath the column that I'm choosing. I come up here, click auto sum, and it automatically happens. That completes step 9. Step 10, create and format the current date. It says in cell G23, move the screen down just a little bit. I'm going to make this just a little bit bigger so we can see it. In cell G23, it says insert the now function. So what we're going to do, a couple different ways to do this. I'm going to type this in manually. I'm going to type in equals now, and then open parenthesis, close parenthesis, and then hit enter. And it's going to put in the date. Now, if it doesn't want it in this particular format, we have to format it the way that it's asking for it. It wants it in a different format, but I would like to say one thing here. If you happen to see this right here, where it's a bunch of number signs, it means that your columns are too, or your column is too narrow. There's a couple different ways to widen the column. You could grab this space in between the G and the H and manually grab it using the left mouse click button, drag it. The way to auto fit it is if you literally click on that bar in between the G and the H and double click it, double left click it, it'll auto fit, make it just big enough so you can see it. Now let's go in and make it so it's formatted the way that they'd like it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click. It says format cells. And then I'm going to choose date. You have lots of different choices here. And you want to make sure that the month is spelled out, the date, a comma, and a 4-digit year. So I need to find that. Lots of different choices. I can see it down here. I'm using the scroll bar. The month is spelled out, the date, there's a comma, and then the 4-digit year. And there you go. Next, I clicked OK to lock that in, and then I click Control and Home to get back up to the top of the page. And that completes step 10. Step 11. Create and copy a VLOOKUP function to display goals for each funding source. So in 11A, it says click on the Family Day sheet. Make this just as big as I can while fitting in everything so you can see what's going on. And we need to select cell F6. If it's not selected, make sure you select F6. Use the VLOOKUP function, so click the Formulas tab, the Lookup and Reference button. VLOOKUP is at the bottom. It goes alphabetical, so it's pretty easy to find. And now let's go slow so we make sure we get everything right. It says in the first area, in the lookup value, it says it wants E6, that's raffle tickets. So I click E6. Then I need to click in the table array. That's important. Before we go on to the next step, make sure you're in the table array area. And then click the tables sheet. Select A6 through B10. And it says to make that absolute. So I'm clicking or hitting the F4 button. If for some reason you didn't have an F4 option there, you could manually put in the $sign in front of A and then the $sign in front of 6, $sign in front of B, and the $sign in front of 10. But you need to make this an absolute value. I'm going to click in the column index number here, the next item. Once again, clicking off everything as we go. This is step 11D. I need to put in 2. And once you're there, just reading the instructions and make sure I'm doing everything the way they like it. I'm going to click OK. You should have $500 right there. Now it says copy the formatting, or wants us to copy the formula without affecting the formatting. So if we just use this autofill button, we would be copying down the formatting in addition to the formula, and we don't want to do that. So we can right click, click copy, then we can select F7 through F20. I want to make sure that that's what they're asking for. Then I'm going to right click And there are several different paste options. If you haven't played around with this in the past, this is a good time to really get familiar with them. One of the choices, you should see different choices here. It says formula. And what that means is it'll just copy the formula. It won't copy any of the formatting, anything else but the formula. And that's what we want in this particular case. So I copy the formula and everything's looking pretty good. The last thing that we need to do is make sure everything is currency. So without any decimal places. So I'm going to go back on the Home tab. In the numbers area, the numbers drop down, click currency, and it says no decimal places. So right here you see decimal places get smaller or increase and decrease. I'm going to decrease the decimal points. I'm going to click off this just to take a quick look and see if everything looks good. And it does for me. I literally just clicked out of that a couple times to make sure I'm completely out of this area. I'm also going to hit escape just to make sure I'm not going to accidentally select anything. And that completes step 11. Step 12, create and copy an if function. In this particular step, they want to see that we're going to reach our goals. They want to know if the amount that we earned is higher or lower than the goal. Did we meet the goal? Yes. Or did we not meet the goal? No. So we're going to use a logical function to do that. So let's take our time and go slow. Select cell H6. Step 12A. 12B, we're going to use a logical argument. Need to come up here to formulas, logical. Makes sense. It's logical, right? And we need to use a logical formula if argument. It's a logical test. And we need to see if G6, and I'm clicking on G6, it puts it right here. And then I am manually typing in a greater sign and an equal sign, equal to or greater than F6, which makes sense. Is the amount that we earned less than or greater than the goal? And if it's true, if that is actually true, we want it to say yes. And if it's false, we want it to say no. And if I click OK, it should say yes. And it does, which is a great thing. Next it says this is 12D. Copy the formula from H6 down, all the way down, and do not affect the formatting. This is similar to the previous step. We'd like to copy the formula and just the formula, but not the yellow or any other formatting, or it might be red depending on your computer screen behind it. So I'm going to right click copy. Then I'm going to select the range of cells, which is H7 all the way through H20. Let me double check. Yes, that's right. Then I'm going to right click and I'm going to paste just the formulas. And if you did it right, I'm going to double click off of this, get out of this completely. I just want to make sure, take a quick look and make sure this looks and makes sense to us. In the second one, it says goal was 250 and it made 225, so that's no. So this is looking pretty good. We did a great job there. Next, we want to center align these folks right here. Okay. Highlight that range of cells right there. Go back to the Home tab. Click the center align. Excellent. And then finally in 12F, it says hit Control and Home to get us back up to the top of the page. And that completes step 12. Step 13, insert a new sheet at the end of the tab names and paste the range name starting in cell A1. Then name this worksheet range names. So let's do that first. Let's create a new sheet. New worksheet, couple different ways to say it. I'm going to do this right now. I created it. I'm actually going to move it over to the end. You can move the sheets around just so you know. So I'm going to make this the last sheet here. I'm going to right click it and it says rename. And I'm going to type in range names and click anywhere to lock that in place. And now let's do the rest of it here. I'm going to click in cell A1, make this a little bit bigger for you. And it wants to paste in the range name starting with A1. So here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to click formulas. It says use in formula, paste names. And I can click these individually or I can click paste list, and I'm going to click paste list and watch what happens. Paste it over there. Now these things aren't big enough. The columns, at least on my computer, are a little bit too narrow. A couple different ways you can widen this. You can do it manually. Sure, that works. Or you can highlight one of them. You click on the A anywhere in the A and then double click on the right side of it. That'll auto fit it. Or you can highlight A and B and click in between any of them. In this case, it's just A and B. Double click and it'll make them both just wide enough with the auto fit feature. And that completes step 13. Step 14 has you save and close the workbook. Step 15 has you upload and save your project. And then step 16 says submit your project for grading in SimNet. Best of luck, folks.